Hi, this is just a quick overview of pi paragraph structure and the assignment about Sungju coming of age. So for this assignment, you started with this chart where you were looking at who Sungju was as a child in chapters 1 through 6, and then you were filling in this row about how Sungju has changed in chapters 7 through 12. So for my paragraph, I didn't want to steal your topic, so I looked at how Sungju changes specifically in chapter 6. So my chart's a little bit different. And so I filled in this chart with things that I noticed about Sungju in chapter 6. And I was specifically interested in the changes in the categories of who or what Sungju trusts or believes and his beliefs about morality. So I noticed that in chapter 6, Sungju starts to question the government, which he trusted a lot earlier in the book, and he also starts to trust his new friends, Young Bum and Chulo. He also, in terms of morality, earlier had believed that if you do good things, you'll be rewarded. If you do bad things, you'll be punished. And in chapter 6, which is when he sees an execution, he starts to question whether bad things only happen to bad people. So his beliefs are becoming a lot more complex, I think, in chapter 6. So I wanted to focus on those things in my paragraph. So based on what I had in that chart, and that's the same chart just copied here, I wrote my topic sentence. And my topic sentence said in chapter 6 of Every Falling Star, so identified the book that I was talking about. I said, Sungju starts to question what he has been told about Joseon. And that's what I'd noticed in the chart, right? There's this idea of him questioning the government, questioning prior beliefs. And then I made a connection to a theme. So Lee, that's the author, suggests that the process of growing up includes rethinking one's prior beliefs, right? So I made a connection to real world growing up too, because I think that that's something that we all go through as we become mature, right? As we start to question what our parents taught us, maybe what our teachers taught us, our simple beliefs about the world as we learn more. So that's exactly what I see Sungju doing. And then, as you can see here, I have the whole pi structure outlined. So as a reminder, right, with pi structure, we have a topic sentence, which is what we are proving. And then we have 3 pies, which are 3 examples, right? So 3 pieces of evidence that I'm going to give and explain that show Sungju starting to question what he's been told about his country. So I filled in my points first, and my first point was Young Bum tells Sungju he lost a tooth in a fight, but Sungju didn't know there were fights outside of Taekwondo clubs, right? So Sungju thinks, wait, how could he have gotten into a fight? And kind of has to change his beliefs. And then the second really important thing that happens in this chapter is that Sungju's class goes to see an execution. So I wanted to make my last 2 pies both about that execution, but focusing on a little bit different parts of it, because I think that that is a really important turning point for Sungju. So for my second point, I said then seeing an execution gives Sungju more information about his country. So I'm going to be looking at directly how the execution contradicts what Sungju thought he knew. And then my third pie is going to focus on Sungju's reaction to the execution to prove that his thinking started to change. So I have those 3 examples kind of laid out, and then my conclusion sentence is going to connect back to the idea of maturity or growing up. Therefore, he becomes more mature as he questions his beliefs. So my next page shows you my whole paragraph. And I color-coded here so that you can see how each pie is helping to support my topic sentence and also giving a specific example that's different from the others, right? So what's highlighted in yellow is the references to my topic sentence, which are Sungju growing up by questioning what he's been told about his country. So my first point is Young Bum calls Sungju's beliefs into question, right? So that directly connects to my topic sentence when he tells him about losing a tooth in a fight, right? So the green here is my first specific example, losing the tooth in a fight. So my illustration is all that example. Sungju is confused, thinking boys also don't fight unless it was in the sojo. And I knew from my father that there were no Taekwondo clubs in Gyeongsang. Nothing these 2 boys said made sense. I also want to point out in this illustration that I have a lead-in phrase. So I'm never just going to start a sentence with a quote. I'm going to put something before it. Sungju is confused, thinking boys also don't fight. And you see that grammatically leads into it beautifully. And then here at the end, I have my page number. If you're reading an ebook and don't have the page number, you can use the chapter number instead. So you would just say, this was from chapter 6, so you would say with chapter 6. But you want to make sure you have those two parts for all of your illustrations. All right, then my explanation. The yellow highlighted parts are connecting directly to Sungju questioning his beliefs. So throughout his childhood, Sungju has simply trusted his father's statements that Joseon is a good place, but he is now confronted with evidence that contradicts them, right? So that supports my topic sentence by showing how he's changing his beliefs. Now, this green piece is specifically linking to that illustration. Children get injured in street fights here. Although he still denies facts that don't fit with his beliefs, he is at least starting to consider alternate perspectives. All right, then my next example, I'm going to introduce the execution. So I have Sungju questions his country even more seriously, linking to questioning in my topic sentence, when he witnesses an execution. Sungju narrates, "The judge's words dug into me. His words about this woman slumping now in front of me, tied to the second stake, this woman with saliva frothing from her mouth." So I chose this quote because it's really vivid and awful details about the execution. So I think I'm showing pretty directly that he can no longer believe that Joseon is a good place. So in this explanation, the blue parts refer to details in my illustration. The yellow parts connect to the topic sentence and him questioning things. Here, Sungju directly witnesses a brutal public execution and is forced to face the fact that his government does terrible things. While Sungju could convince himself that Young Bum's story about fighting wasn't true, he can't deny the execution he's seeing before his eyes. And then then my last pie is focusing on Sungju's reaction and how it's difficult for him. So my last pie is, this moment is difficult for Sungju. It is not easy to let go of one's core beliefs. Illustration, Lee ends the chapter with a simple statement, "I felt dizzy and sick." Explanation, confused and uncertain, Sungju is no longer a child who naively trusts the government to tell the truth or to treat people fairly. Conclusion sentence, instead, he has begun a path to maturity on which he will need to reach his own conclusions about truth, about justice, about Joseon, and about his own identity. So I'm again here, I'm ending with this connection back to maturity and kind of hinting again at the universal idea that growing up is reaching your own conclusions about things, not just trusting what other people have told you, right? So this is all of the parts that are required for a pie paragraph, right? So your answer to the prompt, topic sentence, 3 examples, pie 1, pie 2, pie 3, conclusion sentence. All right, and then I just wanted to show you really quickly what it looks like to turn this into a paragraph. So one important thing to remember is that paragraphs always have multiple examples in them. So I've seen some spacing errors where you've tried to make your pie paragraph 3 separate paragraphs. It should just be 1 paragraph, which means that you're not pressing enter anywhere in the middle of the paragraph. So all you need to do to turn your outline into a paragraph is to just go through and delete your whole outline, and then you're just going to indent that very first line, and you are going to double space it. All right, and I already had on this page your header, your title. All right, and now what you submit should look about like that. All right, and that's it. Happy writing.